Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Underneath the Hood. I'm Dave Martin, the owner of Martin's Auto Repair in Central Phoenix.
I'm Glen Hayward, the proud owner of Goodworks Auto Repair in sunny Tempe, Arizona.
And I'm Lee Weatherby with Accurate Automotive in the heart of Mesa.
And together, we represent 140 years of combined automotive experience.
Our goal is to change the perception of our auto repair industry by going behind the scenes and underneath the hood.
And we hope to share with you what it's like to own a small business and give you a perspective from an insider's point of view.
So let's get started. Good morning, and welcome to another episode of Underneath the Hood podcast with Lee, Glenn, and Dave.
Wait a minute. Is it morning
I was
already?
top today.
You're top of the. You're top of the. You know what? I'm trying to mix it up. I don't want to make sure that I'm not. You know, he wants to be the teacher's pet.
Dave, I love you. Man. I love
you. Hey guys, guess what? I got something that's kind of interesting. Well, and before I say this, let me hold off a little bit. You guys are gonna have to wait just a few minutes longer to get what I have to say. But Glenn's got something here for us.
This is a very interesting thing. It's kind of dear to my heart because there was a few of these in my neighborhood when I was growing up. But in 1917, the very last Model T car rolled off the assembly line with Ford. And this is a shocking statistic to me. They sold 15,007,033 Model Ts.
15 million.
15 million Model Ts.
You think about that, 1917.
I don't know if there's a model of anything that sells 15 million. Wow. But I mean, there wasn't much competition. But when the horseless carriage became the Model T, 15 million. Wow, crazy.
What was the date on that?
1917.
1917. The last one rolled off.
Well, 1917. Was there actually a month? Did he have the month there?
Yeah, May.
May. Okay. Yeah.
May.
I was just curious. I didn't know if it was when was the beginning of the year, it was the end of the year.
Oddly enough, it was mid-year. It was May 27th. So that is kind of weird too. So anyway, it was superseded by the Model A.
Wow.
And then there was also a Model B, which is very similar to the Model A.
Yeah.
But they didn't sell nearly as many. The Model A was just crazy.
I'll tell you what, if you look at some of those cars today that have been restored, I mean, it's absolutely it's a piece of art. It really is.
Oh, those cars were amazing the way they were designed.
They were
for the technology that they had.
The little crank up in the front.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Could you imagine? You know, and
it was awesome.
Yeah, and when you're cranking that thing, and if you weren't careful, that thing would launch you like across the room. There was
Don't let that go.
Well, same with airplanes. They used to grab the prop and spin the prop to get those old airplanes.
Yeah, get out of the way, man.
People were killed.
Oh yeah. That thing come around and hit you. Woo!
The thing would backfire and throw you 100 feet in the wrong direction.
Yeah, and that's people don't realize how powerful those things were, man. It's like, oh my goodness, you're over there cranking and next thing you know, that thing just locks up or goes the other direction, and you're gone, man.
Quick sidebar story. What happened to him?
My dad, when we were kids, had a 1949 Volkswagen van, and it was a 6-volt system.
Yeah.
And it had a starter on it, but when it was below zero in Wisconsin, this thing actually had a crank like a Model T that you would shove in the back door by the engine, and you'd crank the thing, and he'd get it to run every time.
Wow.
Sometimes it'd take him 2-3 times, but it was a crank. Literally went onto the pulley on the crankshaft and started the vehicle.
And you know what's...
It would go... Roar,
well, the thing that's so amazing is
roar,
you think about what you're talking about. The innovations that we have. I mean,
this was in the 1940s. I mean, it's only 1950s.
But this is what I'm saying. That was a huge innovation in its time.
Huge! That was
its time. Yeah. That was an amazing innovation.
It was technology at its finest at that point. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And guys, we're here, and we've done these episodes before, and we're kind of tagging off of one of our other episodes of Good, Better, Best oil.
Okay.
And one of the things that I got a little bit of a statistic here for you, or a little bit of information. The most expensive oil change is a Ferrari Enza. Usually costs about $1,600 with parts and labor.
Wow.
So, yeah. That's an expensive oil change.
I've seen higher than that. I've seen them at $1,800, $2,200. And one of the things about it, they got 6 oil pans.
Yeah.
And you got to take off all these shields just to get to them. I mean, there's an oil thing here. And I was watching one on YouTube a few days ago. It was crazy.
And to your point, some of these oil changes are definitely, you better have somebody who knows what they're doing, because they're not as easy as just draining the oil and filter. And a lot of cars are
not anymore,
but not anymore. They get
when
tougher
you got
and tougher.
6 places to drain and you only know about the one you can see.
And
I change your oil.
And so
in one of your cavities.
We've all been around a long time. I mean, you guys are way older than me. I'm a lot younger, but anyway,
baby Dave.
So, I mean, you guys have seen a lot.
Can we call
more
you
than me.
Father Time?
yeah. I mean, you guys, they call
When I was growing up, the Model T was the newest model out there.
They called you guys blacksmiths in the day, and not all the mechanics. I know, but I mean, that's what I was told.
Life is cruel, but when Dave is around, it's even worse.
So I want to tell you guys
Dave.
something. This is funny. So, and being that we've been around a little longer than we want to admit, but in the U.S., the most popular oil grade in 2025s are likely to remain 5W30, 5W20, while 0W20 is gaining popularity. And why?
Well, you know what? I'm going to tell you. I mean, and I understand that that's a stat of what people actually are buying. And I would say this, that probably the foundational thing about good, better, best in the oil change is making sure that no matter what, making sure that the vehicle matches the product, meaning you have got to choose the right viscosity oil to go into your vehicle. You cannot interchange.
Can I talk about viscosity? Because some of our audience may not know what that is.
Yeah, please.
So if you take a bottle of water and you pour it, and you take a bottle of pancake syrup and you pour it, the thickness is the viscosity. So motor oils are just like that. So there's real thin motor oils, which are now 0.12, 0.16, 0.20.
Yeah.
And what does the second letter mean? We can talk about that in a minute, but the actual weight or the specific weight or gravity or thickness of that oil is the first number.
Yeah, the W part.
That's telling you how thin that oil is. So, I mean, a lot of oils are almost as thin as a glass of water now.
Well, or thinner.
Iced tea or something.
I mean, the interesting thing is, and they're specifically designed that way to allow, for some of the high-tech systems in the cars nowadays. You know what I mean? You change
immediate lubrication. That's what they're looking for.
Absolutely. Well, and they're lubricating. They're doing so much more than just lubricating the engines. You know what I mean?
Yeah, such as crankshafts and
turbos, wastegates, everything.
Well, and guys,
superchargers.
And guys, let's face it, the motors, the tolerance in the motors and the technology that we have now, they're so thin.
Tighter.
What, in the 70s?
Yeah.
2050 was king.
2050.
And
you needed to use it. Yeah, because they needed to take up all the slop.
Right, take all the slop. And we used to have this motor. I don't remember what it was called, but I think motor permated, and it was honey. We call it motor honey.
Yeah, motor honey.
And you'd have to put it in the microwave to heat it up so you could pour it out of the bottle. It was so thick.
Yeah.
And this was thicker was better, and now thinner is better.
Absolutely. Well, it's here, and I'm going to go with this. Even though it's good, better, best, it's not better. It's got to be exact. See, today's oil changes are not about, hey man, like you said, just drop the oil, change the filter, and then pour something in that you thought was going to be okay. Cars are very particular now. The brands have become very specific on what they want. If you're putting in a 5W and a 0W car, you're going to create problems. You know what I mean? You're going to have issues of different types and styles. We can talk about all those, but you got to make sure if it's, in fact, even the zeros, say you put a 020 oil in a car that needs 012, you're going to create issues because you know what? The oil is still too thick. It started out the 0, you know what I mean? But it doesn't have the elasticity rating. You know what I mean?
Right. And when that oil starts circulating through things like cam phasers and all this other stuff, the timing gets thrown off, and I'll check engine lights on, drivability issues, the car's bucking. And it's all because you put the wrong oil in.
That's correct.
That's
there you
how
go.
Crazy it's gotten.
Runnability problems can occur because of a basic oil change. Using the wrong product, wrong viscosity.
And you know what the big problem is? A lot of these new oil change places, they claim 5 minutes. You drive up, you pick the oil. There's a menu board like going to McDonald's, right?
Yeah.
You pick your oil, you pick your filter. It's like
dangerous.
No. And they'll give you whatever you want. you know, if I want a double cheeseburger at McDonald's, they're going to give me, even if they know it's going to give me a heart attack eventually. It's the same with a lot of these cheap oil places.
Yeah.
It's more of a convenience thing, but
It
who
is a
knows how to
convenience
pick
thing, yep.
the right oil? I mean, they're going to pull out their owner's manual and say, oh,
Well, a lot
you
of
know.
times,
And then the quality of the filter is huge. The
I-
number of pleats. I just did a podcast here in my shop the other day, and I showed the pleats, and actually it's on TV. And you know, the number of pleats in the oil filter determine how much cleaning that filter is going to be doing.
Absolutely.
You can have 8 pleats in a really cheesy
4 micron, 8 micron, 16 micron, so on.
Yeah.
Well,
And you want to get that, keep the garbage in the filter and not running circulating.
Well, otherwise
through
it's
your
just a
motor.
pass through.
Mhm.
Once it's saturated, and that's the whole thing, filters become saturated. They've absorbed all that they can,
And now they just pass. They just bypass.
Now it's just passing.
And you
through.
brought up a really good point there too. You know, you look at some of these cars, the way they're designed, some of the passages where the oil goes through.
They're
I think it was-
about that thin.
And I think it was Ford. It was Ford or one of the. I don't remember what motor it was. Where they had a problem with one of the banks wasn't getting oil up to the top. And
Getting
it was
plugged.
Yeah, it was getting plugged, and it was causing lifter noises.
You bet.
It was causing lifter wear.
Yeah.
And it was causing all kinds of other issues. So because people weren't changing their oil on a regular basis,
Or using the right
or
viscosity.
rising the right viscosity is too thick of a.
Or we're
That's
using detergent oils. You know, back in the day, there was, just to differentiate what oils were, there was no detergent in oils before. It's not like someone put Dawn soap in the oil. They are cleaners that are contained in quality oils. So if you're using a non-detergent, now there are some things where you don't want to use, like my air compressors here, they want non-detergent oil in there.
Right.
Because those detergents are going to make the things start blowing by the pistons and blow
Build
up
up paraffins and things
your
of that
compressor.
nature.
Yeah. So, but in automobiles, they came up with detergent oils back in the 1960s.
Yeah.
And they've been using them ever since, because you got to clean the sludge from the blow by when the pistons are going up and down and the gasoline's exploding. It's burning some of that oil. It's literally burning it. And it's leaving deposits on the cylinder walls and ends up in the engine. And et cetera.
And Glenn, if I can, I want to capitalize on exactly what you're talking about. You know what I mean? Because you were talking about the 60s. Think about, you know, we started out in 1917 thinking about that.
I know you weren't
Then
born then.
You look
but
at the
it's all
60s.
good.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and you talked about the can, you know what I mean? And now all of a sudden here we are in the 2000s. I mean, and you've got to use the zero weights oil, which have only come out in the last few years. You know what I mean? You didn't hear about, you've heard 5 Ws
Oh, yeah.
for a long time, but
First,
the zero Ws.
first time I saw it's like 0.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, they
Yeah.
keep lowering the number. Now it's 12.
And it's because all of the tolerances in the engines,
Yeah,
just
they're
like you were
so
talking
tight,
about,
yeah.
and that's why even some of the some of the brands, we won't have to talk about specifics, but some of the engines that are made, the tolerances are so tight that they have components that are sticking if the right oils aren't used. And even in some cases, if the right oils are used, you know what I mean? They still have lifters that are sticking, or they have components that won't spin freely. You know what I mean? Seizing. You talked about cam phasers and the such. And cam phasers are a different animal on different vehicles. You know what I mean?
Yes, they are.
And the reality of it is some of them are fed by tiny, tiny little orifices,
Yeah,
little
passages,
tubes,
yeah.
you know, that are small like this. And if they get plugged up, now all of a sudden something that is supposed to be kind of dribbling, you know what I mean, in there on a very consistent routine basis, no longer has a dribble. And you're now doing that thing you're talking about. You're running basically that component or that portion of the engine without any lubrication at all. And you know what? It just is not going to last.
Well, and you know, we're talking about an oil change here, guys. You know, the thing of it is it's such a we look at it as a minute thing. People
Right.
think as an oil change anybody can do it and it's easy and it's all other stuff. But the point is that if it's not done and it's not done correctly and it's and we're not using the right viscosity, we're not using the right oil, we're not using the right weight, and we're using subpar oil. The thing of it is that oil change can cost you thousands and thousands of dollars, and that's
And
that's
you may
what
not
we're
even
talking
feel it right away.
about. No, you won't. You
Well,
will
it'll
not.
take a long
That's the
time
key.
for you to blow something up.
That's the key. And to your point, though, that I was trying to make earlier, nowadays, you know what I mean? We have direct injected motors. You guys, what is the byproduct of a direct injected motor?
Yeah.
More buildup, more
Deposits,
sludge,
more
more
deposits,
deposits.
yeah.
Okay. And that's where you were going, is the deposits. And the thing of it is essential, just so essential, because
Deposits are something you want to make at the bank, not in your engine.
oh, I like that. Can you make some for me, Glenn?
Yeah. You got some extra, send it my way too. I'm with Lee. I mean, Lee's got a truck. I got a big van. We can help carry that stuff to the bank.
Right. And just point me in the direction of the bank. I'll go the other way. No, but I mean, the thing of it is, the deposits, like you're talking about, build up. You know what I mean? And when you use the correct oil, that's exactly what it does. Like you're talking about those detergents, it grabs those little particles and just pulls it along with it and takes it to the filters and to the places where it's supposed to get.
Where it's supposed to go.
Yeah. And the key to it is, and then the routine part of it is do the maintenance routinely. You know what I mean? Which is it's the lifeblood of the vehicles.
The maintenance.
You know what I mean? Yes, the maintenance.
And this is why
it's always the maintenance.
Right. And it's because, I mean, I know you guys, you're like me. I run my vehicle. My last vehicle, I ran 270,000 miles. And you know what? I'm going to run this one 300,000. I'm going to continue to run these vehicles.
My shuttle van has 204,000 miles on it now.
And you know what? And I got to say,
I'm sorry, 300.
But you know what? See, no, and I'm going to tell you what. I think that should be like a badge of honor.
It is. It is a total.
Yeah.
We got clients.
I do. Good job, man. I mean that.
Yeah.
Good job. Because you know what? Our
still has the original engine, by the way.
Yeah.
And it's never been taken apart and rebuilt.
It's a Honda, right?
It's a Honda.
Yeah. See, our
Honda
shuttle van's
Odyssey.
a Honda as well.
Yeah, and I got a Honda shuttle van too.
277,000.
It's so funny because I got a Honda shuttle van too. It seems like we all got, and they're great vehicles because it's easy to get in and out of.
Absolutely.
It's convenient for the customer. Hey, but before I skip this, because I got a short-term memory here, but we got
other things that are short too, but we won't talk about those on the
make fun
air.
of my height again.
Yeah, your height.
Hey,
Dave's only 4 foot nothing.
One of our listeners asked a question: is it better to change the oil when the engine is cold or warmed up, or does it even make a difference?
That's a great question.
I think it's better when it's warm, because the oil will always thicken when it's cold. You may not get 100% of it out of it.
Takes longer to drain it. I would agree with
yeah.
that. Yeah.
But I'm gonna say I think Glenn's spot on, because I would prefer to drain it when it's warmed up. A little
not
hot.
when it's smoking hot to where you burn yourself.
Right.
We get that, right?
Right. But a little warmed up, because now it's number one, ease of flow. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you're going to get more of the dirty, contaminated oil out than you would if it was cooler.
Yeah, and it's coagulation.
Coagulations.
Exactly. Right? It's settled on the metal somewhere, and it's not going to flow out because it's cold. So I would say, start it, let it run. I mean, if your car is cold, let it run for a minute or two, and then change
in the context of the question. In the context of the question, does it really matter? Probably not. But my opinion is, you're doing yourself a bigger service to warm it up before you drain it all out.
Yeah.
That would be. Does it matter? Oh boy. I mean, I just think,
as long as you get the oil out of there and you get new fresh oil in there and you get a filter on there, that's the important part. And the correct oil. Back to what you said there.
Bingo.
The thing of it is we got to make sure you get the.
And let me talk real quickly about the quality of an oil change. The highest quality oil change that we sell at my shop, and I think we all do this, is we use chemicals made by BG, Ken's and Leslie. They're the premier chemical company. I don't care what the guys out there who use Winds or whatever else is out there, but these are really premier chemicals. And when we do oil changes on our own vehicles, we put a cleaner in there first, made by BG. Ken's and Leslie hired out some of the greatest engineers that work for General Motors that used to make all their chemicals for them, and they formulated all these chemicals specifically for Ken's and Leslie. And actually, 2/3 of their sales, I don't even know if you guys know, 2/3 of their sales are in the Far East. They're not even here in this country because they are so maintenance oriented, and their cars last forever because they don't have a lot of money. They can't
get parts.
They got to make them last.
That's right.
So here's the deal. So you do the cleaner, and then you put the oil in, and then we put another additive in there. That additive helps clean beyond the regular detergents that they put in the oil. Doesn't affect the viscosity. It's made to blend with all the other oils, but that cleaning process is so crucial to today's engines because they're GDI, the gas direct injected motors. They leave deposits on the rings, on the pistons, on things that don't normally get cleaned. So using chemicals to remove those things or to prevent them from formulating And the same with induction services. I know that's not our subject today, but that's another biggie. It needs to be done on gas direct injected motors. The reason why is because you can start burning oil. And the easiest way to tell is if your bumper is black or you stick your finger in your cold tailpipe and it's black and it's got soot like a chimney on it, you are burning oil.
You're burning oil.
And you're going to blow up your engine. I mean, we get 50, 60 blown engines every year into my shop.
Yeah.
And people are just crying, oh, I didn't know. Well, when your oil light comes on, and that's a pretty good indicator. But I'll tell you one other thing about some of these new cars. You can have less than a quart of oil on, and the oil light still isn't coming on in these cars.
Well, and you look at what Lee said earlier about some of these passages, the size of a pen tip, and what you said about the cleaner running the cleaner through it's always a great idea to do that, and especially if you're not very diligent on your oil changes.
Absolutely.
It's very important to do that.
Well, see, and I want to recap a little bit about what Glenn said, because I love the way he put it, because he's exactly right. I do use the BG product, you know what I mean, in my own vehicles, and I have for years and years because I've seen what they do. Now, that doesn't mean there aren't other products. There's all kinds, Granitize, STP, you know what I mean, Wins, all those. But at the same token, if you're, you said good, better, best, and I love that, because a good oil change is one where you get done on time with the correct viscosity. You get fresh oil and a good filter in there. Better is when you add, some type of a chemical, in where you're going to be adding something as like an oil enhancement. Because we talked about what's in the oil, and let's face it, 90% of that jug, you know what I mean, is oil that is basically refined, pulled right out of the ground, you know what I mean, spun down and centrifuged, you know what I mean, to 2 or 3 or 4 microns, right? And then you have your conditioners and emollients that are added to it. Now, when you add conditioners and emollients, when in essence is what you're adding, when you add a product like a MOA or something like that, you know what I mean, that is what I would call the better one. Now, when you go to the best, is the one that you were talking about. It's where you're adding that conditioner, you know what I mean, pre-draining, cleaning the engine, you know what I mean, and then all of a sudden you drain it out, put yourself your fresh oil in it, correct viscosity again, get a new filter, and now you're adding not only your MOA, but you're also adding a fuel additive, you know what I mean? And sometimes people go, well, how does that even relate? Which we've been talking about the whole time. Oil is the lifeblood of these vehicles, and by basically contaminating the engines, you know what I mean, along with the fuel systems and the oiling crankcase, man, you're going to be able to keep that car for as long as you want.
I'm going to throw in one other thing about the oil change deal, because back in the day when your car was burning oil, there was additives. You could put Lucas in there, or Wins had a product, STP had a product.
Granitize, they're all around.
The Racer's Edge, it was their tagline.
There's be stickers everywhere, yeah.
Yeah, but the deal is, you add something like that, now your car's burning oil, you got a GDI and you're burning oil, and I got to do something, so I'm either going to put thicker oil in, or I'm going to put one of these Caro syrup type additives in there. You're going to create other problems. You're going to have drivability problems. You're not only going to put your engine at further risk because of lubrication issues, but the timing and everything else is all run off of oil pressure in these vehicles. So don't make that mistake.
Yeah, do the exact opposite. Get yourself like a dynamic engine flush, where they're going to really clean out the engine and not gum it up.
And we say this on our cooling system summer podcast. We say it on all of these podcasts. Friction and heat destroys things.
Absolutely.
And we know that. So the thing
heat's what breaks it all down.
That's heat breaks everything down. And
breaks
it doesn't matter what it is.
Including me.
Yeah, including me. Yeah. Yeah, no kidding. And hey guys, I got another question from one of our listeners.
Okay.
When you check your oil, and this is a good question. When you check your oil level on the dipstick, now that's a loaded one right there. What do you look for? What color, level, what else do you look for? And how often should you check the dipstick?
If it's dark amber or black, you're due for an oil change. If nothing comes up on the stick at all, you are way low on oil. And the best thing you do is before you even start it again, add a quart and then recheck it. And you may have to add 2 or 3 quarts before you'll even see oil on the stick. We get cars in here all the time for oil changes. You pull the dipstick, there's no oil in the vehicle.
And Glenn, you led right into where I wanted to go. I think the question was kind of what are you looking for about color? And the key to it is, I'm not looking for color. I'm looking to, number one, see where is it on the level, as far as the level.
Are you being on the level?
Yeah. And then I always run my finger through it, and I run my fingers together just like this. Because what I'm looking for is to see if I feel any grit. Because I don't do that. I'm too old to do that.
It's kind of chocolatey.
I got to preserve the years I got left, Glenn. No, but I mean, I rub my fingers together and I'm looking for anything that feels gritty or sandy or anything that feels like pumice. Like if the oil feels like the soap that I wash my hands with, I know that damage is being occurred.
Well, another thing you look for,
it could be
the dipstick itself. If it's darkened,
Bingo.
I mean, and it looks
Bingo.
crusty or something, man, you don't change your oil as often.
But you got to be careful about the color because, like, for example, and we've done this, and I know you guys have too. You can take a diesel motor, you know what I mean, drain all the oil out.
Oh, yeah.
Do
5 minutes later, you pull
brand new oil, you pull the
blacker
dipstick,
than-
and it's just as black as the oil that came out. But the difference was when you do this, you can feel the difference.
Well, and when you're looking at that dipstick, number one, I always tell people make
I
sure you
look
check.
at dipsticks all day.
Yeah.
And I got to look at...
I'm
Hired a couple even, huh?
I'm talking to a couple dipsticks right now. So when
Hey, is that any way to talk to your elders?
yeah, I know. Sorry.
Thank you.
But when you pull out that dipstick, the thing that is you got to check it correctly. Number one, you got to because the car's been running, so there's splashing.
Amen, Dave.
You got to wipe the dipstick off. You got to put it back in,
Absolutely.
and then what you got to do is pull it out again, and then make sure you check it correctly to make sure. Because sometimes people pull it out and go, oh, it's got plenty of oil. Well, no, it doesn't. Put it back in, and it's it's down a quarter too. It's not even on the dipstick. So,
Isn't it funny as we sit here and talk?
I
you
got
just-
another one I got to add to
the-
this, but go ahead.
Well, the way that you clarified that, I think it was genius because you know what? We take for granted that we've done it so many years.
yeah.
But the correct process, pull it out, wipe it off. Got to be clean. And then now you're really checking the oil. You're not just checking the oil by pulling the dipstick and go, oh yeah, it's here. That's not checking the oil.
And don't do it while it's running.
And don't do it while it's running. No,
Okay.
no, ever.
Yeah, there's
Now I'm going to throw in my 2 bits worth. If you drive a Euro car, even some Volkswagens, they don't have a dipstick at all.
Wow.
I'm glad. See, that's
The
where I was
oil
going with this
level
thing.
is monitored
Yeah.
by sensors
Wow.
in the vehicle.
Yeah.
So you could be driving around, I think I better go change my, and you could spend half of your life looking for a dipstick. They don't have one.
And people have done that. People have come into my shop and go, hey, I
They come in and point at you, Glenn.
I
just spent the last hour looking for a dipstick. I go, your car don't have
I'll
one.
let you see my general manager.
Yeah.
He's the
more-
main dipstick.
And more and more cars are coming in without a dipstick. And you have to
Absolutely.
use a scan tool in order to
Mercedes,
test it.
BMW,
Yep.
Audi, a lot of them. There's no way to check any of your fluids.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah, including transmission fluid.
Transmissions now,
Yeah.
80% of cars don't have anything to measure the.
So
You got to take out a plug and let some of the fluid run out to see what the condition
some of the electric
is.
vehicles.
So,
are the
so to
same
wrap
way.
up, so to wrap up this question
Yeah.
that they brought it in for,
Mhm.
I mean, like Lee said, 100%, I agree with him. The thing of it is you want to feel what the oil feels like.
You bet.
You want to make sure it's full,
Yeah.
and you want to make sure it's not black or an odd color or maybe a milky color.
Milky
Now,
color,
now
yeah.
we got bigger issues, right?
We got bigger issues.
So we do look for a few things, and definitely I always consult with the shop that you go to that you trust. Go in there and trust me. We get customers that ask us questions, and we love it when they ask questions. We don't think they're stupid. We don't think they're dumb questions. We think we just want to educate the customer as much as we possibly can, so they make an informed decision about their vehicle. But they also don't get broken down. None of us. I know you guys are the same as me. When you see one of our regular customers come in on the back of a tow truck, it's embarrassing.
It is.
We hate it.
But it was well said. You know what I mean? Ask the
Well,
questions.
here we go. A teacher told me this a long time ago. The only stupid question is the one you don't ask.
Totally agree. That was my dad told me the same
So-
thing. Shame on you if you don't ask.
So we got to wrap this thing up.
Yeah.
And Lee, why don't you give us your
I got a fun kind of quote.
your knowledge here?
Well, I got a fun kind of quote, and I thought this was kind of interesting for this topic.
Where does Lee get all these funny quotes all the time?
You know
you
what?
must look in the mirror.
I look them up.
Looking in the mirror.
Actually, to be truthful with you, our producer looks them up.
Yeah.
Most of the time.
We definitely knew that, Lee. We knew that
Yeah.
it wasn't you.
Yeah, my research is making sure that they were spelled correctly.
There you go.
And you use spell check for that.
That's right. Well, you got to rely on technology. Come on, we're talking about it here. Patience is like good motor oil. It doesn't remove all the contaminants. It just puts them into suspension so they don't get into your works and seize them up. Patient people have, so to speak, a large crankcase. They can put a lot of irritants into suspension.
There you go. Wow.
Like
I
that
think
one.
I'd have to read that 2 or 3 times to really get the full depth. That's good, though.
Yeah.
So for the listening audience, just put it in reverse and listen to that another 2 or 3 times before it'll really sink in.
Yeah.
Good stuff, though. Good stuff.
Good
Lee.
stuff, guys. It was a great show. I love doing these podcasts with you guys, and I'm looking forward to doing another one very, very soon. And I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day, and try to stay out of the heat, man. Don't burn yourself.
Gonna do it.
We'll see you next episode.
Thank you.
Goodbye.